here with Jason Dolence. So, Jason, you are the first member cast of the podcast, right?
Fantastic.
Yes.
Happy to be here.
We have talked to a couple of the coaches. Talked to Stacey, Bird, Montana, but you're the first member. And so our idea, I think, was to just spotlight and highlight some of our members and their stories, some of the things that other people in the gym may not know about them. Nothing deep and dark and personal, but just like, oh my gosh, I didn't know Jason did that, or I didn't know his wife was in that department, or those kind of things. Then talk a little bit about the fitness and your perspective on CrossFit and stuff like that. So
perfect.
Before we dive down to like you here at this gym, briefly give us just a quick synopsis of how you came to Tallahassee and then what you did before you came to our gym fitness-wise.
Yeah. So 8 years ago, my wife and I took a position, or my wife took a position, at FSU in the School of Criminology and Criminal Justice. So she's been there, graduated from ASU with her PhD. That's where we originally met.
Okay.
And I was so in love with her, I told her that I will go wherever you go.
Yeah.
I lived in Arizona for about 11 years at that time.
Now, were you guys married prior to that?
We were not.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I said that to her, we had been friends for like 5 years and probably dating like 1 or 2 months at that time.
Oh, wow. When she graduated and got this position?
No, she was finishing up her last year of her PhD program.
Okay.
And she was going on the job market in the fall, anticipating a move in the, early summer. So she had applied at a couple places. Cincinnati was on the table. Miami was on the table. Actually applied to UC Boulder, but lost that back in 2015 to a colleague that she's going to work with again out there, which is kind of funny.
Full circle.
But yeah, came out here, made her an offer, and she's like, it's a great school, it's a great program, got a really good feeling from the dean. So I told her, I was like, if Tallahassee's the place, I'm all in.
And so you guys had only been dating
We'd only been dating a short time. Yeah, we'd been friends for, like I said, 5 years or so. Again, I was super in love with her. She's an incredible woman.
That's a cool story. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we ended up, moving in together shortly thereafter, purchased a home here in town, sight unseen.
Wow.
It was funny. I was actually at a CrossFit class, and the realtor called, and Jill was on the phone with the realtor. My wife is Canadian. Didn't have her U.S. credit built up, so everything was in my name. And she was telling the realtor, she's like, make a full ask offer on this house. And the realtor got very nervous, and she was like, okay, like... So the realtor finally gets a hold of me, and she's like, Jill wants me to make an offer on this house. And I told her, I was like, whatever Jill says, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, we'll deal with anything, out of it that we need to, but it all ended up working out.
That's cool.
Yeah, moved out here. We've been in the same house, remodeled it, and as you know, getting ready to head out to Boulder at the end of the year for kind of her next chapter in her career.
So did you have any inkling of how long you would be in Tallahassee? Was this always intended to be kind of a stop, or does it depend on her career? Or?
Yeah, I think, with us being so far away from our families and a lot of our, kind of core friends, there's always been a desire to go back west.
Sure.
Tallahassee isn't the easiest place to get to, especially for her Canadian family members. No. We joke around that, like, we could fly to Europe faster and easier than it would be to go back home. So it's just kind of organically worked itself out. No real timeline, but if an opportunity came up and, was real, we were going to jump on it. Yeah.
So you moved to Tallahassee. Had you been doing CrossFit?
Yeah, I got into CrossFit in 2012 out in Phoenix. Worked out at 2 different gyms there. Really enjoyed it. Met a lot of great people, good community, circle of friends.
Yeah.
You find those people that go to the same class times as you.
Sure.
Build your rapport. Those friendships start to evolve, which was really nice. And
that was one of the things Bird actually mentioned that she found very different, which I was interested to hear. Like, she said she did gymnastics for however many, 8-9 years and had no friends.
Yeah.
And here it's very different for her, even though the peer group that she has here is very different. She still has much more friends in this community style than she did in other places.
I think it's like with work. Let's say you're a 5-day week person. You're spending 5 hours of your week with the same people in and out. you're doing challenging things, which helps you build camaraderie,
Sure.
mutual respect for one another, and just a positive atmosphere. I think it's like a perfect environment for friendships to really organically evolve and
Right.
progress, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's a. I don't think many people understand how that. It just the setting here sort of organically is inviting of that.
Yeah. And I did a lot of team sports growing up. I played, baseball, football, tennis, track and field, ice hockey.
Oh wow.
Never really
Hold on, ice hockey in Phoenix?
That was in North Carolina at the time. Yeah, I moved around a bunch as a kid too.
I was gonna say.
But got super into that. But I was a smaller athlete, and as kids started to, this was going into high school, a lot of kids started getting a lot bigger than me.
Sure.
And it started to become a little, not unsafe, but just not wanting to get beat up on a daily basis. So I bounced around sports a lot, just trying to find what did I really enjoy.
Right.
Always been into cycling. That's been one of the consistents throughout my life, even early childhood into adulthood now. But CrossFit brought something that I thought, the diversity of movements, strength training, Olympic lifts, metabolic conditioning, gymnastics, that kind of programming really resonated well with me because I was kind of, for lack of a better term, ADHD with my athletic abilities. I had all this experience, and to be able to kind of like pull it into one central theme that was not the same day in and day out,
right,
I think is what's helped me stick with CrossFit long term.
Yeah, it does have a change of scenery, so to speak, every workout. But it also, I think, for athletes in whatever level, whether it was high school, college, or whatever, there is still a little bit of that sort of locker room feel, as well as a little bit of competition.
Yeah.
That is, for me as a former athlete too, it just sort of draws me in, right? That same sort of camaraderie, that same sort of bullshit that goes on in the locker room still happens here. Like, some good-natured ribbing and some like, I'm shooting and I'm gunning for you with everything I got.
Yeah.
But when you beat me, I'm still like, dang it, I'm happy for you, right?
Absolutely.
But I'm still like, I'm gonna get you tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And it still has that sort of camaraderie that you got. I tell people a lot of times, I played football my whole life, and I don't know that I enjoyed many minutes on the field, but that sort of community that I developed in there was probably what I liked the best. And so I think that side of CrossFit's very it's a good fit for me and other former athletes.
Yeah, and I was doing triathlons for 3 or 4 years, which is very much a solitary sport for me.
Very solitary, yeah.
I'd spend 8 hours on a Saturday just on the bike, alone with your thoughts. You get a lot of thinking done,
sure.
And I'm fortunate to be okay in a social setting or in solitude. But I think there's something that you find within yourself when you kind of do that, and it helps you recognize like, where am I going to find the most success in my athletic endeavors? And you can train with a group in an individual sport. I just didn't necessarily want to go down that path with anybody else but myself. So getting back to that community feel and the camaraderie, again, I think is just part of another variable that adds to the equation that makes this successful for me.
So you're in Tallahassee. How did you get introduced, and how did you find us here at Midtown?
Yeah, I was training at another CrossFit gym here in town, and wanted to get into tries. Broke away from that and really kind of invested all my time in triathlon, and then I worked starting at a sprint triathlon all the way up to a full Ironman.
Here, while you were in Tallahassee?
Yeah.
Did you do the Red Hills then? Was that your first sprint?
Red Hills Triathlon was my very first race.
Nice.
Extremely eye-opening and humbling.
It's a fun one, but that water's cold, man.
Super fun. Yeah, you got some hills, a cold, sometimes alligator haven.
That's Florida, right?
Lake.
People ask me if they're alligators. I'm like, yeah, you swim with them. I don't know.
I think the night before that first race, I had a dream where I was swimming and I just saw alligators passing underneath me. Terrifying. But, learned a ton over the next couple of years, and working up to that, 20-hour week training capacity for a full Ironman. You just get burned out. And there are those people that are very much set on that lifestyle. and do extremely well and, go to the World Championships as an amateur. For me, it was more about the journey and the experience. I'd had some friends do it, and that's what really kind of pushed me into it. So I was looking for a big change. I was riding my bike. I was doing at-home workouts with no consistency.
Sure.
Feeling a little skinny fat. I had some legs on me, but that was really all I had. And, I live in Midtown, so I drive past this place every single day.
Gotcha.
I saw it kind of come from its infancy into what it is today, which was really cool. And text the number, popped in for an assessment. I had prior CrossFit experience, so I kind of
just jumped right in,
and it's been almost 2 years now, I think, at Midtown.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so I would say that let's talk about like your at gym persona, right?
Yes.
So how do you think people at the gym, not like from a personal sense, but like how do you view yourself here in the gym? Like how do you see yourself? Like, are you one of the top ones? Are you middle of the road? Do you think, I don't know, like give me what you think your gym persona is.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you what I think it is.
Yeah. No, this is a good question. It's funny for me because this is such an outlet and a medicine for me to come.
Yeah, is it really?
After, a solid 8 hours in corporate America, staring
Working
at
from
screens,
home, right?
working
Yeah.
from home, alone.
Oh.
I'm like 5 o'clock rolls around. I'm pushing out the door to
Ready
come
to
here
go.
with excitement and a smile on my face.
Yeah.
I think other members perceive me as a little high energy, hopefully
Okay.
not too annoying.
Sure.
Top of the middle in terms of performance,
Okay.
but pushing for the top. And I
Yeah.
get there every once in a while. You
Yeah.
know, it's like a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. So
How competitive are you in that endeavor? Like, is it something like every workout you're trying to win and you're okay if you don't? Or is it like, I save 1 or 2 workouts? Like, tell me how you apply that.
I think we all have our specialties.
Sure.
Whether that be like a high capacity hero WOD,
Right.
or a Olympic weightlifting. I really enjoy being competitive in the weightlifting aspect. I think I have the Bella Complex number 2 spot.
There you go.
Almost grabbed the number 1.
Yes, you and Ramsey were competing for that.
Yeah, back and forth. So that, competitive in that sense, but also, you have those other members that you find your similarities with,
Sure.
and you're constantly pushing one another. And again, it's always kind of a who's going to be on top today. But always, I think I come in here and I give a really solid effort on a daily
Sure.
basis.
Yeah.
Depending on how I eat and how I feel, determines
A lot
how
of that.
successful that is on a daily basis. But I definitely come here knowing that I'm gonna leave most of it on the
Yeah.
floor here.
I think people, I don't know, I probably shouldn't say how I think people perceive you. I'll just tell you how I see it. I see you as one of the integral members of the gym. Like you're sometimes people that are upper tiered athletes for whatever the setting sometimes are less approachable, but I don't think that's you. I think you're very approachable, you're very friendly, you're outgoing, but you're also really good at most of the stuff here, right? So for me, I have like a couple people. I find my competition with a few people, right? I want to see where Devin lies.
Yep.
I always want to, and I won't put my score until I know where he falls, because I don't want him basing his score or his pacing off of me.
Yes.
I look for you. I look for Bird for different reasons, right? I got my daughter breathing down my neck, and I got to make sure I can at least beat her as long as I can, which is my time is running thin. So I would say I see you as one of the more vocal members, but in a good sense, like one of the people that knows a lot of the people, right?
Yeah.
You kind of float in different circles. You've come to a couple 6 a.m.ers as well as you're definitely part of the PM crowd as well, but you integrated well. I think everyone was a little shocked when you came to the 6 a.m. It was like, what's this guy doing? But everybody knew you.
Yeah.
And definitely one of the better athletes, but from a very positive sense, right? You don't feel bad if Jason beats you, and you are happy for Jason when he does, but you also feel really damn good when you do get a chance to beat Jason, right? So it's that good. That's how I think I kind of perceive, or my perception of you.
I appreciate that, Jeff, and I think just part of my work personality is having a rapport.
Yeah.
with everybody.
Sure.
Whether you're in my department, on my team, a vendor, a colleague, whatever, I enjoy having that rapport. I think it makes something that people find less enjoyable if you can bring in some personality and bring in a little bit of, a human connection. And I like having that spread pretty wide, even inside and outside of the gym. I love meeting new people and learning about them and finding those commonalities. And I think that's part of, when I come in here, it's exciting for me.
Yeah.
I get to see some friends. I get to meet some new people.
Sure.
And the environment just cultivates, the competitiveness and the drive to show up every day and try to get better every day. It's like compounding interest in your savings or investment accounts, whether that be in relationships, your athletic performance, your professional goals, those small efforts over time. And then doing that with a group of like-minded people, I think only just propels you and keeps that trajectory going strong.
Yeah, I think that like-minded part is important. So last stuff I want to talk about. We have Carlin coming in next to talk about some nutrition. So I know that you've gone on a little bit of a nutrition journey, and has been quite noticeable in a physique change and a very intentional, purposeful style of eating. And tell me a little bit about that. Maybe, was this a new thing for you to jump on the nutrition? Was it based on performance? Was it based on how you wanted to look, how you just wanted to make changes? Tell me a little bit how that started.
Yeah. I think, unfortunately, the society that we live in, and you bring social media into the equation, and you see these beautiful people on a daily basis with these incredible physiques. And one of the things that originally drew me to CrossFit, and unfortunately I've fallen into the trap of I want to look a certain way, I want to perform a certain way. And CrossFit was kind of, you see all these phenomenal athletes, right? Games athletes, and they have these just incredible physiques. And I'm like, if I could even have a tenth of that, and unfortunately, there is some vanity to it, but there's also I've found, I think as I've gotten older and matured a little bit, the performance aspects of things. So
because I've seen your performance change.
Absolutely.
And I guess maybe because I was attuned to your workouts because I was trying to beat you. So I knew if we had pull-ups and running and a lift, I'm like, all right, he's going to fly through the cleans. And he's going to crush me on that. But I know I'm going to catch him on the pull-ups and the run. Yeah. But I think that has changed now. Your body shape has changed, and so your style of workout.
And it's really interesting, with more weight comes more strength capacity, I think, and whether that be a combination of fat and muscle or just muscle. But what I really kind of focused on was being a generalist. The quote, I think, is, and this ties into CrossFit as well and the diversity of the programming, a jack of all trades is not a master, but
master
he's
of none.
Master.
I think the full phrase is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but better than a master of one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was thinking to myself, if I could just be all around a generalist, an okay runner, a decent lifter, good at some gymnastics.
So had you found your body type pigeonholing you into?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
As I put on more muscle mass, I got super strong. 325-pound front squats.
Yeah, it was impressive.
350 plus back squats, 255 bench. As a person, who carries a 150 frame, that felt awesome. But I would go out for a run or try to do 10 kipping pull-ups, and I was just struggling. So I had put the muscle on over, a course of a year, and then I thought, okay, let's get serious about it. Let's really try to trim down and see if I can enhance the more cardio performance aspect of what we do here. And to put it simply, just macronutrient tracking. I've tried paleo, I've done zone, carb cycling. I think all very much overcomplicated without a focus on, am I fueling my body appropriately for the level of activity that I'm doing?
Sure.
So I kind of started to get into the science a little bit more, total daily energy expenditure calculations, what do my macros look like, and treated it more of a science experiment, knowing that this is going to take some time. And really, those first 3 months, you're just you're tracking your food and hitting your protein goals and not making sure that you're overeating, tracking your workouts and your progress there. And about 3 months into it, I had also cut out alcohol prior to starting this, which I think is a huge mental and physical booster. So low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
But about 90 days into the macro tracking, really started to kind of notice a difference. How I felt, my energy level, how I was performing in the gym.
How did you feel before that? Were you demoralized taking so long? Did you feel like, no, this is it, I know I'm staying the course?
No, I think, I had this quote running through my mind, and it was just trust the process.
Yeah.
Simple. And that's how I had to really kind of learn and then simplify for this to work for me personally, knowing that I had a difficult time in the past sticking with something. So having somebody to help me be accountable.
Accountability, right? Yeah.
And checking up on me on a weekly basis. And, I went on a fishing trip for a week in the Bahamas, couldn't track because I had no cell service. My nutrition coach reached out to me, hey, is everything okay? And I'm like, I haven't fallen off the wagon yet. I was just didn't have service. So just, a simple thing like that of having somebody check in. But once I started to see and feel differences, not paying attention to the scale, looking at my body, what the times I was putting up in the gym, but also knowing I'm probably going to lose a little bit of strength through this.
Right.
Not much, but a little bit. And then from there, I think your body just starts to adapt to that protocol. And it was like it went into hyperdrive. So I went
after that 3-month point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I started, I was about 180 pounds. Got down to about 150, 6.7% body fat.
Yeah, you leaned up.
The leanest I've ever been.
Even cycling?
Even through cycling.
Wow,
yeah.
Interesting.
And I felt really good at that 150. I'm sitting like around 153, 155 today. But starting to, probably eat more intuitively, taking less pressure on, being extremely precise in my macronutrient tracking. But I think that's your body just like with more lean muscle mass. I think you get a little bit more wiggle room in the diet. And I don't skip dessert.
Right. No, dessert first. So to talk about the community, I'm interested to see what your response to this question. I think Bird touched on this, and that she didn't fit in the gymnastics world because she felt that it wasn't very welcoming, and it just was. She called them gymnastics girls in a sort of pejorative term. But how was your experience going through that body change and going through that visual change in here, where did you feel like people were happy for you? Do you feel like people rooted you on? Do you feel like they were secretly jealous of you? Like, what was your experience in that? Because I think sometimes it can be, not everyone wants the best for you in every setting, right? Like, what was that like? I
think for the most part, people want to see you win. I want to see other people win. Yeah. I think there's enough pie for everybody to go around.
For sure.
I received extremely positive feedback.
Yeah. You've become like the informal go-to, like, let me ask Jason some nutrition questions.
Yeah, and it was really cool because I got to the point where I was regurgitating this information, to several different people, friends, family members, other people in the gym, and I was keeping a kind of running notepad on my phone.
Oh, wow.
And I just kind of started texting that to people, like, do you need more tips to get more protein in on a daily basis? Like, here's a couple things that I do. Super simple little tips and tricks here and there. And I'm not an info gatekeeper. Like, I'll share my experience, my feelings, my tips and tricks. I got a lot of compliments, at the grocery store.
Yeah, I think it was well received. Everyone was excited to see that for you. So in wrapping up, like, if you had to pick a favorite workout or a favorite movement here in the gym, what's your go-to? Is it something you excel at, something you're challenged? What do you like the most?
I love cleans.
Really?
And I love a good hero wad. Yeah. Particularly.
A long one, or?
I love a Murph.
Do you really?
Yeah.
What about it? Like, just the long
and toughness? I think it goes back to I kind of crave that solitary grind sometimes from all the years of triathlon. And that one's just a slog. It's a chip away. You know what you have ahead of you, and it's overwhelming. And if you break it down into increments and make it more manageable in your mind, I count down in my mind every single time I'm working out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No matter the rep scheme.
Oh, really?
That's what circulates in my mind. And that I picked that up from the marathon training for Ironman. Just one step at a time, and taking 26.2 miles and breaking it down into its smallest increment, and just...
Did you literally count down?
One step after another.
Really?
Yeah, the entire time.
Wow. Now, was this Murph the first time you'd done it RX straight through with a vest and everything?
This year was, yeah.
That was impressive. Like,
Thank you.
You crushed it.
Thank you, yeah. I had that under an hour goal. I think I just went over an hour a little bit. But it's one of those things, you do it once a year, you do some training leading up to it. It's super fun, big community event.
Yeah.
And you kind of get to, take a look back in the past year and see how far you've come in that increased performance and work capacity.
Sure. Very cool, Jason.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us.
It's been a pleasure to be here, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah, and now you've got your L1, you're coaching.
Yes.
That's cool to see.
Yeah, very cool.
We got some things maybe in the works for Colorado. It's exciting to see, so we'll be updating everybody as those things come to fruition. And
can't wait, man.
Lots of things coming. Awesome, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Jeff.